David clenched the steering wheel, his knuckles turning white. His mind was still clouded with anger. The fight with his wife had been worse than usual. Harsh words had been exchanged, accusations thrown. He had stormed out of the house, slamming the door behind him, needing to clear his head. Now, the open road stretched before him, dark and empty. The cold wind carried an eerie silence, punctuated only by the occasional rustling of trees. He wasn't sure where he was going, only that he needed to get away, at least for a little while. Then, up ahead, a figure emerged from the shadows. A woman stood by the roadside, her thumb out, eyes wide with desperation. She was young, with dark hair and a pale face, her dress lightly swaying in the wind. David slowed down and rolled down the window. "Need a ride?" The woman hesitated before nodding. "Yes, thank you." He unlocked the door and she slipped inside, her movements eerily quiet. As they drove, she introduced herself as Evelyn. She was polite, soft-spoken, and oddly calm for someone hitchhiking alone at night. David tried making small talk, but something about her made him uneasy. The way her eyes never quite reflected the light, the way her voice barely disturbed the silence of the car. The road stretched endlessly ahead, winding through thick woods. The further they drove, the denser the trees became, their branches clawing at the sky like skeletal fingers. The streetlights were sparse, flickering like dying stars. "Where are you headed?" David asked, gripping the steering wheel tighter. "Just a little further," Evelyn replied softly, her voice distant. "You'll know when we get there." David felt a shiver creep up his spine, the way she said it, as if she knew something he didn't. Then, about 15 minutes into the drive, they saw it. A car abandoned in the middle of the road. An old, rusted sedan with its doors open and engine still running. David furrowed his brow. "What the hell?" Evelyn didn't react. She simply stared straight ahead, her hands resting stiffly in her lap. Curious, David pulled over. "Stay here, I'll check it out." Evelyn remained silent. David stepped out, the cold night air biting into his skin. As he approached the vehicle, he noticed the thick layer of dust covering it, the cobwebs in the side mirror, yet the engine purred like it had just been started. He glanced into the driver's seat, empty. The interior was immaculate, untouched by time. The only thing out of place was an old photograph taped to the dashboard, a picture of Evelyn. David's breath hitched. He grabbed the photo, flipping it over. Faded ink scrawled across the back. Missing since 1985. Car last seen on Highway 46. Driver never found. A sharp gust of wind howled through the trees. The radio inside the rusted sedan crackled to life, a distorted voice whispering through the static. "You shouldn't have left." Before David could react, the car doors slammed shut. He yanked at the handle, locked. The windows darkened, the air inside the car turning thick, suffocating. He pounded on the glass, his breath quickening. Outside, Evelyn stood motionless, watching. She tilted her head slowly, her expression unreadable. Then she walked toward David's car. David's stomach dropped. "Evelyn, let me out!" But she didn't answer. Instead, she slid into the driver's seat. David's car engine roared to life. The headlights flared, illuminating nothing but an abyss of trees and endless road ahead. "Evelyn, stop! What the hell are you doing?" David screamed, his fist slamming against the window. She turned her head slightly, her face no longer human. Her eyes were black voids, her mouth twisting into an inhuman grin. "We're going home," she whispered. The car sped forward, faster. The trees blurred, the road stretched endlessly. David clawed at the door, his screams lost to the night. The speedometer climbed higher, the wind outside howling like a beast. Then suddenly, the road disappeared. A cliff loomed ahead, its jagged edge invisible in the night's darkness. David's breath hitched. In that final moment, flashes of his life burst through his mind. The fight with his wife, the love in her eyes before things turned sour, the way she used to laugh, the way he should have been home apologizing, "I should have never left." His final scream was swallowed by the void as the car launched off the cliff, vanishing into the abyss below. The wind whistled through the empty highway. The rusted sedan now sat where David's car once had, its doors open, its engine still running. And Evelyn stood by the roadside once more, her thumb out, waiting for the next traveler.